Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the anime Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku Season 1 on Amazon Prime. And I really enjoyed this one. I had been waiting to see if it would be getting any kind of dub, and I got kind of fed up with it because it came out in like 2018. And I've heard hide nor hair, but if it gets one at some point, I wouldn't mind doing a rewatch because I really enjoyed this one. It's only 11 episodes, and it pretty much deals with these two couples and how they kind of do their relationship stuff as they are otaku nerds for different kind of things and everything. And it's interesting because it deals with that kind of through line, and it has its overarching arc of like seeing the progression of these relationships. But it's more kind of, it focuses on doing certain kind of not gag, but like certain like little vignettes, if you will, of showcasing different kind of aspects of different kind of relationships and what kind of goes on with them, depending upon who's involved. So we pretty much get introduced to the world with Narumi, who is 26 years old. She's starting a new job at this new place because we learned throughout the series that she had this boyfriend, but they found out she was an otaku and broke up with her and got together with another chick at the office, and she just couldn't deal with it. And she's almost late for her new job with her superior Hanako, and she's like getting introduced and everything, and she's going through, and then she notices Hirotaka, her like childhood friend in like elementary and middle school, is also working there, and that's kind of how they kind of get together and kind of like start setting up. They meet together after work, have drinks, and he's pretty much playing his game. He's kind of more aloof and definitely doesn't give a shit about pretty much knowing it, like if somebody knew he was an otaku or not. He's just like, I'm into video games. And then you start seeing kind of differentiations on certain kind of things because he's pretty much really solidly in the games. Narumi is more into like manga, and more specifically boy love manga, and it's really interesting seeing her and eventually Hanako and Kabakura, and having like her and Hanako really have that kind of thing to kind of bond over, and Kabakura is just kind of lightly into certain kind of other stuff, like reading manga and all that kind of stuff, but it's interesting to see each different kind of character's perspective and how it kind of like relates to certain kind of stories on hand of what they're going through and what they're doing. And that's pretty much the setup. We see them doing different kind of stuff, dealing with work. What are they going to do when they go out? We see that Narumi is like kind of fed up, like not really completely fed up. She's just frustrated with having to hide that kind of stuff and trying to get a boyfriend, but she's kind of got that like self-hatred, whereas Hirotaka doesn't have that. It's like, hey, I'll game with you, I'll farm with you and do all that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't care about it, so I'd be your boyfriend for that. And that kind of sets them up, as we then see that Hanako and Kabakura were pretty much like jocks in high school, and Kabakura was like, I think, a year ahead of Hanako, and that they would always fight for like gym space and everything, and theirs kind of has the adversarial kind of relationship as it kind of goes on, whereas Hirotaka and Narumi still have to kind of like figure each other out. And it's really kind of cool to see them kind of progress and deal with all the kind of like hijinks of like going to like a comic-con and having Narumi selling her own fan comics and everything, and going to like arcades and playing video games together, and what that incurs in like the online space and what they have to do. And then also bringing in Hirotaka's younger brother, like really younger brother, like he's still in college, and him kind of getting into it and becoming friends with another person, like, oh, we played that game, and him kind of getting into it and not really caring that much about like the social stigma and stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. It's really kind of a nice world where it could be kind of like sickly sweet to certain people, but it's pretty well realized. I like the depths of the characters and the crazy kind of situations they get into. They don't go and completely escalate out of nowhere or whatnot. It keeps it pretty grounded within like the realm of reality and everything. Though granted, I do love that the voice acting is so good on this. Now granted, I know you'll be like, you usually watch dubs. What do you know about the voice acting? Well, the thing is, even though I'm reading, like Narumi's lines, when the voice actress does certain things, it just hits like when it's really supposed to be funny, and it just, the way that she intones certain things is just fucking hilarious. And Hirotaka, like, is able to sell the kind of aloofness that he's got, and then also kind of like certain deeper emotions when certain scenes call for it. And Kabakura is the kind of louder one, and when he goes kind of quiet or whatnot, or starts to kind of go at something, or like him and Hanako kind of going at it, it's just fucking great. It just really sells the characters and really gets you invested in them. And the animation works well too. It's not going to be like really nuts or anything like that. It works for like how grounded it is, but it gets every character to have a kind of differentiation amongst themselves. You're not going to confuse certain characters or whatnot. Now granted, the background characters, they don't really put much emphasis on or like give them any kind of nutty designs or whatnot. Usually it's mainly like we see backs of heads or whatnot. But if that comes, like if that's the expense that comes to making sure that we get really good designs and utilization out of the main cast of characters, I'm fine with that. And I'd actually rather prefer that and see how they kind of do and make sure that they get the most kind of animation time. Granted, they don't really go to too many different places. So it's kind of reused throughout different kind of places, kind of like Hirotaka's apartment, this pretty much Starbucks ripoff, and the corporate environment. So if you're looking for like crazy locales or whatnot, this doesn't have that for you. And if you're looking for giant fights or whatnot, of course, this isn't the kind of action anime that you'd be into, so don't go for that. Now, I'm not going to get into each kind of specific kind of thing. I'm mainly going over certain kind of premises that we get at the beginning, and pretty much the four main characters and how they kind of like interact and everything. So, and then just light dusting of like what kind of different kind of situations they get into, because pretty good. Now granted, you do have to sit down and watch it because it's subbed, unless you're fluent in Japanese and understand Japanese by hearing it, so in which case, I mean, you could have it on in the background and everything, but then again, you miss the kind of visual aspect of certain kind of crazy stuff that they're able to do with the characters. So this one I would more recommend that you sit down and you kind of like invest your time into, and I don't think you'd be disappointed really, because you get to see the characters grow and challenge themselves and understand kind of what's going on. And it's 11 episodes and it goes by pretty nicely, and it's a nice kind of palate cleanser that's a pretty good one without being like disgustingly sweet, if that makes sense. It's a positive anime without being like, I'm gonna vomit a fucking unicorn of rainbows on your ass, like bleh, bleh. It's not like that. It's very well balanced with the stuff that it takes seriously. Now granted, this is mainly more of a romantic comedy first, so definitely it goes more for the jokes. However, it does not do that at the expense of any kind of serious kind of subject matter. Now granted, it doesn't get into like horrendously dark subject matter, but the kind of stuff that goes along with like relationships and everything and kind of growing up. So yeah, I would heartily recommend this anime to pretty much anyone. And I was like surprised. I'm like, okay, Amazon, you've still got this on here, because if you got Prime, you're able to watch it because it's included for free. So if you've got that and you're like, I'm bored and I want something to watch, go for this. Now granted, if you're not into like nerd stuff and otaku stuff, that's definitely gonna be a knock against it. And if you're not into romantic comedy kind of stuff, yeah, don't watch it. There's better anime out there. Just kind of like find your preference, you know what I mean? And if there's certain ones, I don't mind if you're like, hey, what do you think of this one? Because I'm kind of open to any or all. Now granted, I've got the subjective ones that I usually like certain genre more. Certainly like action, gripping story, any kind of stuff. But like if it's weird or different, I don't mind it. Now granted, I usually tend to shy away from horror ones, but that's mainly because it depends upon how the horror one kind of goes. Now, granted, if it's like a funny horror one, or one that I can be like, okay, that's kind of weird and stupid, alright. But those are like into your general kind of preferences, but I would recommend this to anyone. Like, I don't think it's really kind of beat you over the head or anything, which is nice. It's just a good kind of story with good characters that you get to go on a journey with. And then I would have liked to see this dubbed, or to see like even like a second season or whatnot, or for them to do anything like that. But if it doesn't happen, I'm cool with that. We got what we got for it, and I enjoyed what it was. I am glad that we're getting like a Devil as a Part-Timer season 2. I never thought I'd see that motherfucker pop up again, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that, man. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.